So I just finished the first half of the install script for MyKoz.AI, and I did a reboot, which enables the second half of the Windows Subsystem for Linux install procedure to finish. So this is something that pops up automatically right after a reboot. It's actually going to take a few minutes to get done. All right, and it brings us to this point, and you really do want to finish through with this. I give it the very traditional Ubuntu name, UBUNTU, and just the password foo. And there we go. The operation has completed successfully. You're tempted to just close this, but you give it another second. You actually want to wait here long enough to see a Linux command prompt come back. The Linux operating system is very much modeled on the Unix operating system, so they're very similar. But we can just close out of this, and now we can finish running our MyKoz script, not this one over again, but the Jupyter Ubuntu one. And what this does is it really replaces the Ubuntu that was just put on there with one which is hosting Jupyter notebooks from the Python side. As we live, we are always getting closer to the end of our lives, and there is precious little time to get sidetracked by short-lived trends and superficial tools. And it sets the stage for moving to Linux for real. How in the world can Stoicism apply to tech? MyKoz Realist offers a way of using a Linux subsystem for timeless computing. And then I give a last chance, because this will in fact replace your Ubuntu. I explain how you could be taking other more common routes and how this goes a bit against the status quo, but is very much worth it. It explains how it takes you to real automation and not this kind of automation that everyone gets stuck at, sitting there pressing the button to run a task. And then following that, I explain how I take you through real Linux terminal and journaling and Vim and all that happy stuff. And there's your last chance. You hit that, and now it's installing for real. And it really doesn't take that long to get Ubuntu installed over again from these container-like images that Microsoft makes. There it goes. It's done. That part of it. But now we're into the update, because after it's installed, there's this equivalent of applying the updates. Anyone who's applied the updates on Windows after a reinstall knows there's a little bit of catch-up happening. And there we go with Python. So we're on a type of Linux called a Debian derivative, a Debian distribution. Ubuntu is made from Debian. And on those versions of Linux, there is a repository system, a way to get software, called the Debian Package Management System, but nobody calls it that. The program that's used to interface with it is called apt. So we often apt install, apt update, and there's about 60,000 free packages in there. It's like a web store or an app store, but it's just all free and open source stuff. So it's grabbing a few things out of there. Now here we are on the pip installs. It's yet another web store type thing. Just like you can apt install, you can pip install. But whereas apt is geared towards things on the higher level, it's packages for the operating system in general, Linux apps. Pip is packages for the Python environment. So technically it's called the Python Packaging Index, or PyPy, P-Y-P-I. So when you pip install, it's coming from PyPy. I actually have a debugging mode of this whole thing, so you can see all these things getting installed in front of you. Here's Node.js, something I'd really rather not include with all of this, but a lot of the work I do has to do with browser automation. So we include this because it's necessary for some of the browser automation. Now finally Jupyter Lab being installed, the star of the show. Your transition plan to the world of Linux while on Windows through Python. Sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I'll show you a tiny little piece of it before I wrap up this video, which will be in a moment because we are near the end. Congratulations! MyKoz.AI RealOS has landed. Oh my fur and whiskers, to Jupyter Lab I go. Password is foo. Okay, let's do that. Oh, look, some icons. Let's click on this one here. Password is foo. Oh, will you look at that? One of the first things I do is go into settings and switch it from this bright theme to Jupyter Dark. I just find this much easier to look at. I'll make it a little bit larger. And you can see we've got these 3 repos that have been made available here at your service, including your service. But we are going to go into intro, and to prove to you that this is Linux, I'm going to go into this Linux proof. I'll do a few of these imports and show the system platform. Oh, it is Linux. System version. Oh, it's Python 3.11.4, pretty new Python. What's our home directory, /home/Ubuntu? What's our executable? There's the Python in a virtual env location. We'll talk about that more later. It's our file separator. Oh, it's this nice /. We're in the land of /, not backslashes. And there's a whole bunch of environment variables, the very standard variables for running this in a very cloud-like way. So all your code is Python cloud compatible. You don't have to do all these convolutions to get your code running in the cloud. And if you're wondering about, the details of the Linux you're on, you can see here's Ubuntu 22.04.3, long-term service release, code-named Jammy Jellyfish. Jammy. You can see it's like a Debian distro, and so on and so on. So just in case you weren't convinced this is actually Linux that you're running your Python in, here it is. And so we can just do a hello world in there, right? New notebook. This is a Python hello world program. Well, here's Python hello world in Jupyter. All you have to do is go hello world, because Jupyter handles inserting an implied print statement if it's the last line of the code block. Here's a more traditional hello world program in Python. So there, I just did hello world twice. And this is a way of running Jupyter now that just is so much better than these other approaches like Anaconda or Desktop Jupyter Lab, because this is not a Windows exe here. All your slashes are /, and all your code is cloud compatible, meaning, able to scale, and your knowledge is future-proofed, and all kinds of lovely stuff. So that's part 2 of getting MyKoz.AI installed. You just close out of that, which is an interesting thing because you can always just go back into it and it'll pick you up right where it left off, because it is running invisibly in the background. Oh, well, I guess it didn't auto-save that. But here's this having run. Maybe I just didn't give it enough time for the autosave. But here we will open up the Linux shell as our final thing to show you a few things. To see how Jupyter Lab runs invisibly, type screen.ls. So here's the task for Jupyter Lab that's running Linux side. And then here's a task for your service that I'm going to teach people how to step in and take control of as a way of moving to 24/7 Linux services from 24/7 Linux services from Jupyter notebooks, which are really easy to make. A reminder about how to get to Jupyter, and to begin your Vim NeoVim experience, type Vim Tutor. So you can type Vim Tutor and start to learn all about that lovely stuff, or I can just show you Vimit all. Is that Vimit? I think it's just Vimit. Here's the blogging system that I have here ready to go. And I'll be teaching you how to keep one text file for life for your journaling system. Here's my little macro to start a new journal entry. And hello world. I can journal for life and learn tech in a way that resists obsolescence and helps to future-proof your skills. I guess that's a good place to end. See you soon.